guys. Hold on, we're gonna do a little test here. Since I have my iPad sideways, let's make sure that Judy and I aren't coming to you. Oh, hey, that's perfect. That's awesome. Okay, so welcome to our very first rendition of Member Moment. I'm kind of excited about this. I'm going to be looking for members to interview that have had, hi Sabrina, hi Mel, that have had really powerful beginnings, or you have a powerful why you got involved in oils, what made you decide to get your starter set for the first time. And as much as I know and love the woman that I'm going to, be letting you all get to know a little bit better today, I never knew her why. I never knew what it was that brought her to us. So Judy and I are trying to do the appropriate 6 feet apart thing, because we didn't want to wear our masks because we felt that would be really hard for you to be able to tell what we were saying. So I'm gonna pivot my iPad here in a minute, and when I start asking her questions, what I do want to say as a little bit of a disclaimer is that as I interview these people and allow them to tell their story, I want to remind everybody that we are using this as a personal testimony, that whatever the person who's being interviewed has experienced, we're not physicians, we're not scientists, we're not clinicians. This is just us going forward, really empowering ourselves as we try to teach all of you to do, to look beyond, right? To go beyond the black and white and know that there is potentially answers out there that can really be powerful forces for you and your family and the people that you love. And there's a wealth of information online that you have access to, okay? So I'm going to introduce you now to Judy. I'm going to turn this just a little bit so that Judy can say hello. Whoops.
Hi everyone.
And I'm going to leave it on Judy while I ask her to just tell everybody a little bit about you as a person and how long you've been with Young Living and all that kind of happy stuff.
Okay, I joined Young Living in January of 2018, and
you've only been in my life for 2 years.
I know. When I went back,
I feel like I've known you for like 20 years. That's amazing. Okay.
I know. When I went back and started checking dates, I'm like, really? Because I can't remember a time when Young Living wasn't a huge part of our family.
That's awesome. So why don't you tell them a little bit about what made you decide to get a starter set, because this was the first like jaw-dropping moment for me. So give them a little bit of background, and once you decided that you needed oils, who you called and how that went down.
Okay, so in 2017 my husband started having some medical issues. He started having some problems walking, and his memory was getting a little fuzzy, and so we're thinking, well, maybe he's not exercising enough, maybe age is just creeping up on him, and we had a million excuses why Keith was not at the top of his game, because this was a man that could take a car apart bolt by bolt, nut by nut, without any instructions, have it all spread out in the garage and put it back together in just a month's time. So we started saying, well, go to the doctor, have it checked out. So as things happened, he was misdiagnosed for months and months and months. So then, in a few months later, his health really started going downhill. So I said he needs to see a neurologist. So we went to a neurologist, and the neurologist said, you've got textbook case of hydrocephalitis. And what that is it's fluid buildup on the brain. So the fluid from his brain was not flowing as quickly as it should be. So it was causing pressure. And the pressure was pressing on the part of the brain that affects his walking and his memory, and a few other things. And so that was the two biggest issues that we had. And so then, of course, it takes months and months and months for anything to happen. So it took us months to get him in to see the neurologist. And then it took us months to get him in to see a neurosurgeon. And so then when that happened, the neurosurgeon said, okay, you are a candidate to have a shunt put into your head, into your brain, which will flow the fluid out of your head and down through your body and out. And so we're like, great, we have a diagnosis, we have a doctor that can do it, we're good to go. But it also took months and months and months for that surgery to be done. So by the time that Keith got in to have the surgery, which was in April of 2018, he had lost a lot of his memory. There was days where I don't even think he knew who I was. He knew that I was supposed to be in the house and that I was going to help him get through his day. But other than that, he was clueless. He would ask me a question, 5 minutes later, he'd ask the same question. He just couldn't remember. And then his walking became really bad. He had a shuffle, just shuffle. He could only shuffle from his chair in the family room to his bed. That was the extent of his world. So then the shuffling became really bad, and of course the memory was really, really bad. So I thought, well, this just may be our life. And so anyway, he went in and he had the surgery done, and his memory slowly started coming back, and the walking started coming back. But he had a long ways to go for recovery, but at least we saw improvements. And then about a month into it, after the surgery, these severe headaches came. And they would just lay him right out every day, all day long, this pounding headache. So he could only sit in his recliner and do nothing because of the headaches. So I took him back to the neurosurgeon, and he said, well, the good news is, you're walking better and your memory is better, but one of the side effects that many people are left with are these severe headaches. And that's what you're left with. And unfortunately, this is your life. So he said, go home, take 2 Tylenol 4 times a day. And I'm like, for the rest of his life? And he's like, well, so I'm thinking, I don't like that. I mean, we're going to have a liver transplant a few months down the road now if we keep doing that. So then I took him to Worcester for a second opinion. And we pretty much knew at that point that the doctor would probably say the same thing, because we went on the internet and, checked everything out, and everything that the neurosurgeon said was, documented. So when we got to the doctor in Worcester, he said the very same thing, that some people are left with these headaches, and this is what you've got. So I said, well, can you give him medication? And he said, no, we're not giving medication, because that's just putting a Band-Aid on what the problem is, and then you got another issue. So he said, have him drink more caffeine and take the Tylenol. So, like, oh, I don't think that sounds good at all. So I went home and I, raved and ranted and stewed for like 2 weeks over, what in the world, that's just crazy. And so I call it divine intervention. It just came to me. I knew how lavender made me feel, and I had heard about Young Living now for a couple of years, but I really didn't pursue any of the Young Living websites or any information or anything, just that people were saying, how great Young Living was. And I'd taken a couple of classes with health coach Maria Martin. I'm sure all of you know her. And I'd taken a few classes with her, and a few also meditation classes with her. And she would always mention Young Living, but she never, I never pursued it, so she never pushed it upon me or anything. So one night I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go on Young Living and I'm going to check it out because I think I want lavender. So I went on and I looked on the website and I saw this big, beautiful diffuser that I could get. I mean, it was big and heavy, and it would put out some lavender. And then I thought, wow, look at this. You can get a kit with 12 oils, which I have no clue what to do with the 12 oils. I just want the lavender. And then I started doing research, and I found out that frankincense pairs up really well with lavender. And frankincense, they said on the website, would support feeling of well-being and create a comfortable atmosphere, environment around us. And then lavender is good for nervous tension, and it helps the mind and body, and it's emotional support. So I thought, well, you know what, I'll just get those 2 oils and just see how it goes. And then, you know, because I really didn't know too much about Young Living. So I checked it out, and if I got the Desert Mist diffuser and the lavender and frankincense, it would be $110. Or I could get the kit, which had 12 oils and a couple of other things thrown in there, plus the diffuser for $165. So I said, well, you know what? I want the lavender and I want the frankincense, and I'll figure out as I go the rest of the oils. So then I started doing all the research, because I knew they were coming, about how lavender is like good for everything under the sun. And then frankincense historically has been proven to help with brain healing and brain function. So I said, well, if I pair these 2 up, then it should be a win-win for us. So I really got intrigued with all the information that I started looking on the internet with frankincense. And I was happy that a lot of testing has gone on and is going on about frankincense. So we get the kit, and I put it right next to Keith in the recliner. So all day long, frankincense and lavender diffused. Then at nighttime, by his bedside, we put the diffuser, frankincense and lavender. So 24/7, frankincense and lavender is going through that man's head and body and every organ. And so my question every day for months was, what is your pain level for headache? 10 being the worst and 1 being okay, we're good. So every day it always pegged from 8 to 10. So after a few days of running that diffuser, my question in the morning, what is your pain level? It would come down to 7. And then a few days later, 6. A few days later, 5. And within 2 weeks, his headaches were gone. And I was like, whoa.
Wow. Okay. Whoa. Right? Like, so this is why when you told me this story the other day, I'm going to stop you right there. I know there's more to the story, but let's just hold on for 1 minute, because that's a very powerful testimony right there. So, first, let's go back to the beginning. You know, you and Keith received this really horrific diagnosis, but I want you to tell everyone what the first diagnosis was, because he actually didn't get the hydrocephalitis diagnosis until you insisted that you had an intuitive feeling, you told me, that the first diagnosis was incorrect, because what was the first thing they diagnosed him with?
They diagnosed him with diabetes, also prostate problem, which turns out he did not have.
And you also said that they were leaning towards Alzheimer's.
Yes, Alzheimer's,
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's really important. So there's a couple really important takeaways that I want everyone in here to really carry with them, okay? One is that Judy, as any wife or partner would do in that moment, when we receive a terrible diagnosis, we're kind of in denial. We go through this period of denial. You know, this can't be true. Sometimes we get angry. Sometimes we get upset. I know with my own diagnoses in my life, I've had that mixture of feelings. But when she got past that, she just really felt like it wasn't accurate. There was just something about it. And so she very powerfully advocated for getting Keith to a neurologist and then a neurosurgeon and then a second opinion, which I think is, you know, to some people that might just be obvious to do those things, but I can't say that enough. I know that for me, when I got diagnosed with my liver disease, you know, the same thing kind of happened. Like the one doctor was like, well, this is just what it is, right? And it wasn't until through the encouragement of a friend to go see a different kind of holistic doctor that a path opened up for me that really showed me that I didn't have to live with that particular, you know, set of this is how it is and this is the medication we're going to put you on. And I also think what you said about, you know, that even the doctor who did the surgery and was seeing improvement, his answer was just, well, you can take a couple Tylenol 4 times a day, right? And again, Judy's intuition said there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something else. And so, you know, I love this story because this is what I hope this group does for people. This is what I hope becoming involved in Young Living does for people, that it empowers them to do some research on their own. And, you know, we say this all the time, you know, you're not a doctor, I'm not a doctor, but, you know, we read things and we see things and we think there must be more to it. And how about that, Maria? Right? I just want to throw that out there, right? So, you know, Maria is single-handedly responsible for so many people in this oily family, you know, eating better, getting healthier, you know, her understanding of how the body works and how good nutrients and non-GMOs and, you know, escaping from sugar and processed foods, like how all of those things come into play. And, you know, I love that within 2 weeks, his pain was less. So since then, since you've had this, you know, life change, what other ways or what other products in Young Living have come to be helpful not only for Keith as he continues to, because it's still a thing that he has to continue to, you know, recover from, but for you personally, because, you know, that's always the case when somebody's taking care of the other. That's a huge amount of stress on the caregiver. So if you could just share with them a little bit about some of those things, that would be awesome.
Okay, so I think the next step that I did was I started getting all the toxins out of our house, because I had, you know, started really getting into, you know, studying the Young Living website, and I was a person that burned candles all the time, so that was the first thing that left our house. And then I said, well, I've got all these oils, what am I going to do? So I started, as luck would have it, 2 weeks after I got my kit, Sherry sends me this postcard welcoming me to the group. And on the front of it, I thought that was pretty cool, but on the front, it gave me a 14-day information of how to use all the oils that are in my starter kit. So I started using lemon as in our water, and lemon to help clean, and other oils to citrus fresh to diffuse or put it in our laundry. So all of the oils that Young Living offers us, I started experimenting with them and started cleaning with them and cooking with them and diffusing them. And so it's come into our life now, into our home, in our family, that essential oils is a huge part of what we do every day. We use the oils in one way or another. So does that answer your question?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. And what are some of your personal favorites at this point in time?
You know, every time I open a bottle, I always say, oh, this is my favorite. Because you can't have, you know, 150 favorites. You know, you just can't. So it changes day by day by day. Right now, I'm pretty much in love with Indoflex, and I use that a lot. I diffuse with it. I roll it on the bottom of my feet before bedtime. It has spearmint in it, which I love, and so that one is one of my favorites. But like I said, it depends on the day. It changes every day. I couldn't even tell you what a favorite oil is.
Wow. Well, Judy, I can't thank you enough for coming on and sharing this story. It's a really powerful story. If you're joining us midway through, please go back and watch this from the beginning, because this is a very, very powerful story. And I just wonder, what would you like to share with those members that maybe have never talked to anybody about oils, never talked to their friends about it, never talked to their family members about it? You know, obviously if Maria hadn't talked about Young Living oils in the classes that you were at, you know, you might not have known to go this route that has obviously made such a huge difference for both of you. So what would you say to encourage people to speak up and to let the lifestyle that we live be more widely known?
Well, you know, once I started, you know, studying the oils and studying the Young Living website, I said, you know what? Everybody that touches my life, I want them to know as much as I know. And so I have such a passion for the oils that it just flowed out of me. I mean, if you talk to me somehow or another, I was going to work that oil into the conversation. So I think it's just, you know, you get that passion and it overflows out of you, and it's just everybody that touches your life, you want to tell them. I want you to know what I know, and I want you to feel what I feel and what I've done for my family. So I keep this bottle of ibuprofen in our cabinet. So every day I look at this and I say, this is what our life could have been, but this is what our life is.
That's very powerful. You actually made me tear up with that. You did. You really made me tear up with that. Well, I know that I'm super grateful that Judy came in and took some time today to tell you her story. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, this video, hopefully, if Facebook is playing nice today, right? Because this is my video and I came in and did it, it should that I can download it to my computer, and if that's the case, I can then upload it to YouTube and make this shareable. And so if that would be helpful for some of you to be able to have this, to be able to share with a YouTube link, that's what I'm going to work on this afternoon. So keep your fingers crossed, because Facebook's really weird about, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We're going to give it a go, okay? And if you have a powerful member that you're aware of that has a really powerful story of how Young Living has touched their life and literally made such a huge difference, then you know, I would love to know about it, because I would love to be interviewing them next. So thank you so much, Judy, for
thank you
for taking the time. I think every one of us is really happy that we have a little Judy in our life. So
thanks.
So thanks so much for joining us, you guys, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Thanks.